Today marks the end of the church year. 2018, 2019 is over today. It's Christ the King Sunday. Next week, we start a whole new church year, a new liturgical year. It seems appropriate, I think, to take some time now to think back over the past 12 months and ask ourselves a question. Did we find what we were looking for? And it's also appropriate now to think ahead and ask ourselves another question. What is it exactly I'm looking for? These are questions that are important to a lot of people. Maybe the prime example today is Dr. Rick Warren of this huge megachurch in Southern California, Saddleback Valley Community Church. He has sold, by some estimates, over 60 million copies, translated in 85 different languages, of a book called The Purpose-Driven Life. What on earth am I here for? Maybe some of you have read it. Many of us have seen in the bookstores or on the Amazon homepage the many spin-offs of these books that there have been. Now, I may have some disagreements with Dr. Warren's Southern Baptist theology, but I do know that he is absolutely correct when he wants people to ponder the question, what are you looking for? There are some convoluted answers. There are some simple answers. And when I have a choice, I like simple, and I like direct. And I like baseball. Those of you who know that when I teach Sunday school, somehow there's a way that baseball creeps into an awful lot of stuff. Well, some of you, particularly long-suffering Royals fans, may remember Jeremy Affeldt. Jeremy Affeldt came to the major leagues with the Royals. He spent 5 really undistinguished seasons with the Royals. He really didn't make a name for himself until he went to San Francisco, and he was on 3 world championship teams, including the 2014 team that beat the Royals. But after his playing days were over, and this is the important part, he had to find something to do. Some of the stuff he did, he is an announcer for the Giants. He's an ambassador for the Giants. He does some other things, but he co-founded a not-for-profit called Generation Alive. And this not-for-profit organization works, and it teaches and inspires young people to find something to do. Affeldt says this about Generation Alive on why it's important to young people and to the people the young people serve and to him. There's a reason we're here, he says. There is something we're here to do. And that is to live a life of Jesus. In other words, we're here to serve. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, I'm not sure that really is a simple answer. It's a direct answer. At the 11 o'clock service, you look in your bulletin, the choir is going to sing really an ethereal rendering of the Beatitudes. This is a song. It's about 30 years old. I find it just incredible song. And these are the words that are going to be sung and the words that we're going to hear. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are those who persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Take the first. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, poor in spirit doesn't mean we're lacking somehow in the Spirit of God, but it means to be lacking in an arrogance that human beings can take on. It connotes somebody whose identity is bound in God's identity. We're taught in these Beatitudes that those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be satisfied. These are people who long for justice, not just, in some sweet by and by way, but justice now and forever. We can pose these questions, I think, as part of our looking back and looking forward. Did I help in the past 12 months make this world a better place? Did I help another person see the need for the justice this world needs? Now, I really like how the Common English Bible translates this, and these are how the two Beatitudes are stated there. Happy are those who are hopeless, because the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Happy are people who are hungry and thirsty for righteousness, because they will be fed until they are full. Happy will be those Jesus describes in the Beatitudes. Now, this checklist, if you will, is a checklist for living a life of meaning. But do you notice what the Beatitudes do not promise? There is nothing in the Beatitudes remotely akin to this. Blessed or happy are those who seek happiness. This is the point. Did I spend the 2018-2019 church year at Parkville Presbyterian trying to be happy? Or did I spend that time trying to find meaning? Psychologists tell us that people who live meaningful lives believe they have more fulfilled lives than people who emphasize their own happiness. A meaningful life and a happy life are not mutually exclusive. Don't misunderstand me. It is just that having a meaningful life supports a deeper happiness. Is it fun to help somebody fight an addiction? It is, without a doubt, meaningful. And though that effort may bring you sadness, may bring you regret, it may bring you questioning, while you're doing it, it will bring meaning to your life. And that will make you blessed. A person who knew this more intimately than most of us was an Austrian psychiatrist named Viktor Frankl, who survived internment in 4 Nazi concentration camps. And Frankl could have avoided all of this. He had a visa to leave Austria. He stayed to take care of his parents. Frankl claims that the ability to endure the camps was because of his work with other prisoners. He spent time with people providing therapy and counseling. He believed that doing this meaningful work, even in a concentration camp, gave his life purpose and him a reason to continue to live and to function. Frankl saw that those who found meaning, even in the most horrendous circumstances, were far more resilient to suffering than those who did not. He said this: everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. Living into the Beatitudes, we'll get rid of some of the stuff Steve keeps. Living into the Beatitudes is one way to choose one's own way. However we do it, meaning comes from belonging to and serving something beyond ourselves. The past 12 months, we've gone from a child in a manger to a teacher and a preacher to sacrifice on a cross and to stories giving those events meaning for our lives. Now, let me ask you a question. Who would change places with George Bailey? You know, it's Christmas Eve, and George is about to commit suicide. Money is missing from the Bailey brothers' building and loan. Now, we know that it was mistakenly wrapped up in a paper and given to the meanest guy in town, competitor of the building and loan, who wanted the building and loan gone. The government examiners wouldn't know that. George's life, everything he'd worked for, is going to be gone. He wrongly believes his life has lost its meaning, and he decides to end it. Would you change places with George Bailey? In the process, George's family and friends pray for George. And those prayers reach heaven, where an angel second class named Clarence is assigned to George. Clarence reaches the bridge where George is standing above the river, and Clarence jumps into the river. George actually jumps in the river as he intended, but he does it to save Clarence. We all know the rest of the story, don't we? Clarence shows George what life in Bedford Falls, New York would have been like without him. The blessings of people's lives would have been unknown but for George. If you think, but not too hard, you can see the final scene in the story. The people of Bedford Falls have pooled their money to give George to fill the hole left by the missing money. The sheriff rips up the arrest warrant, and a bell on the Christmas tree rings. Clarence is an angel first class. Recognizing that he had a meaningful life didn't mean George couldn't feel at different times abandoned or mistreated or cheated, but it did mean that he helped others and that he was part of that group of intertwined souls that made for, forgive me, a wonderful life in Bedford Falls. I hope I've convinced you that whatever you conclude about your life at Parkville Presbyterian for the last 12 months, that we are called to put something of meaning into the next 12 months. Let me close with a few suggestions from a university professor named Emily Smith. It kind of helps us prepare our New Year's resolutions. First, can we value others and find people who value us? I believe that this is a starter for all of us at Parkville. It's a place where everyone is loved and everyone is welcome. You can read that on much of the stuff that we print and publish and say here. Whether you are old or young or single or married or gay or straight or conservative or liberal, black or white, new to the faith or a seasoned churchgoer, everyone is welcome here. And if you stay, you'll learn that your life has meaning because people love you and you love those people. Second, find a purpose. This is a little harder, but your friends are here to help. Finding a purpose isn't just finding a ministry that makes you happy. That's not so much about what you want, but what you give. What did old number 48, Jeremy Affeldt, suggest? There is a reason we're here. We're here to serve. And third, experience those moments when the hassles of daily life fade away and you feel connected to something greater. For some people, that can be things as simple but also as majestic as sunsets and rainbows. For my wife, Janet, these things can change her whole mood. And she's taught that to other people. Last week, we got a telephone call from our daughter on our way home from work. She works in a very stressful environment. She manages a program that assists homeless veterans for the Salvation Army in Western Missouri and Kansas. Now, it's a job that brings great meaning, but not a lot of happiness to her. The purpose of the call that Rachel made was to make sure Janet saw the rainbow that was out there on the drive home. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not. But all the time, I know that if I simply do 3 things, my life will have meaning. If I do justice, if I love kindness, and if I walk humbly with my God, I will find meaning. If I can do these things in whatever shape they take, service and meaning will follow. Amen. It's our practice, if 7 weeks of doing something makes it a practice, maybe it makes it a tradition, I'm not sure, to order this part of our service as might have been done in the early church, where the communion meal was a meal. But before having that meal, people greeted each other, making themselves known to other believers, waiting for the commemoration of Jesus' Last Supper. We take this time to greet our friends and to make new friends by sharing the peace of Christ. The peace of Christ be with you. And also